The Vancouver Canucks lose Game 5 to the Nashville Predators, which might lead to massive changes coming to the lineup. We'll get into this later on this episode, but before we start, I just wanted to say to the thousands of you watching that aren't subscribed, if you're enjoying this Canucks content and you never want to miss another episode, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be all season long giving you updates from all around the Canucks. But with that, we'll hop straight into the first topic today, which is Canucks drop Game 5. Now, we won't cover this for too long because I'm sure a lot of fans don't want to look at it again. But once again, the Canucks did drop Game 5 to the Nashville Predators 2-1. With this, the Canucks did get outshot once again, but it wasn't as bad as previous games. The shots were 22-20 in Nashville's favor. Nashville dominated on the faceoffs. On the power play, once again, the Canucks could not get anything going. Penalty minutes, the Canucks had 8. 33 hits was pretty much tied with Nashville. Block shots were in favor of the Canucks for what felt like the first time this series. 5 giveaways and 7 takeaways. So, Griffin, what's just your initial thoughts on this game, and what do you think the Canucks need to do to kind of get more shots on net?
I think overall, the first two periods, Vancouver was playing pretty awesome for the most part, aside from not finding the back of the net. They were keeping the offensive pressure going. Sheelaws was playing lights out. He just was standing on his head for a decent amount of the game. There was a few times where I was getting worried, but he just put my heart to rest and I was able to breathe between whistles. It was nice to see getting more shots on net. It was nice to see more than 12 shots in a game for again. And to get close to get to that 20 mark again was pretty big. The power play was very concerning. Getting two chances on the power play that you needed to convert and not getting them was big. The lack of discipline, Dakota Joshua taking that boarding penalty was really big. And that power play goal was the ultimate momentum changer in the game. There was a lot of missed chances on offense for Vancouver where they had they had at least like 4 or 5 scoring chances that I could see play like clear as day, and they just couldn't convert it. Whether the puck was bouncing, missed shot, blocked. Like there was that one that Soros saved off his face while getting iced. That was just it was majestic, but it really was a punch in the gut, and you wish to see those ones scored on. There was a few more. You wish you would see a bit less offensive stagnation after a hot start, and that's what Vancouver's got to do. Stop playing conservative, start attacking, let the goalie be who they are, let the goalie handle their own, and take care of the rest on offense.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And the big thing with the Canucks is we kind of see them not scoring a lot of goals. I mean, we've seen Sidorov score a beautiful goal, skated up the left board, sniped it in the top right. And after that, it just seemed, like you said, the offense just went stagnant. They couldn't get anything going. Then we've seen, obviously, Roman Josi and Carrier just score the 2 goals that eventually led to the 2-1 lead for the Nashville Predators. And this kind of ties into the second topic today, which is the line change due? Now, when you do look at the Canucks lines, obviously, if you want to pause and have a look at this, you have guys like JT Miller, Pettersson, and Lindholm. These guys are down the middle. You have a couple of guys on each wing where Tocchet was kind of talking about wanting to have these deep lineups. He wanted to make this so it was a full 3 to 4 lineup team and not just a top heavy team. But the biggest problem with this is the lack of some scoring on these lines. I mean, obviously, JT Miller has been outstanding. You see Pius Suter on top with 1 goal on his left wing. Elias Pettersson and his line mates have been snake bitten. It's almost hard to watch at times how unlucky they get, but you see Pettersson with only 2 assists. You see Mikheyev with no points at all, Höglander with no points. The third line has been good, but in my opinion, it's just a matter of time when the Canucks need to make changes, especially to this lineup. And just what's your thoughts on that as well?
I think a line change is definitely necessary, especially going into a road game 6 where you need to clinch this, or else you're going into a risky game. You're at home in a risky game, but it's going to be a risky game 7 nevertheless. It was nice to see the Lotto line for a little bit tonight, but would love to see more of that going forward, just because it was their most efficient line. It's the star-studded line, and like you said, it's nice to have that depth, but in key moments, like we saw a bit later in the third period when the Lotto line came out, you want to see their big stars come out all together instead of being separated across a few lines. Another one would be nice to see Podkolzin get subbed in instead of Mikheyev. There was a few missed chances that he had that could have been critical, as well as Pettersson needing to pick up his bootstraps. We know he's battling a bit of an injury. He's a bit banged up, but it's the playoffs. Everyone's banged up. You just got to work through it. Obviously, there's varying extents of that, but it's bend or break season, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah, the big thing is, like you said, Podkolzin, I've loved this kid. He looked outstanding coming up. He wasn't putting up a lot of points for the Canucks towards the end of the season, but this guy was a wrecking ball and fitting on to that maybe second line, third line if you want to move someone up, or even the fourth line if you wanted to maybe move a guy like Sam Lafferty up to add more speed to that second line. Something just needs to give with the Canucks forwards. Like I said, we're seeing these guys not really produce at what we're expecting. JT Miller and Hughes have been outstanding for them, but just looking at the forwards, there's a lot of guys with virtually no points or close to no points. So maybe the line changes do, but the biggest thing that a lot of fans are going to be looking at and wanting changed is, of course, the power plays. This is a power play that's 2 for 13. They're at 15%. And the biggest thing looking at this Canucks team, and just not the power plays itself, but just these lines. With these lines, the Canucks are averaging 18 shots per game, which is 91 total in the series, and they're averaging 2.4 goals per game. So when you're looking at this as a whole, it's not looking like a team that can go on a deep run. I'm not saying they're not going to. I truly think it's just a matter of time when the Canucks do get things together. But the biggest thing they need to figure out first, yes, the goaltending situation is a little weird. They don't like having their third string goalie in net. You need to live with this. Injuries happen. The power play needs to get better. And what's your thoughts on just the power play maybe getting a shakeup as well?
The power play definitely needs to get going. It's been way too many missed opportunities and way too many 0% on the board and points left on the table, especially in the playoffs where, like we said, going into the postseason, goaltending and special teams are everything when it comes to the postseason. And they've been able to pick it up with the goaltending. The goaltending has been pretty solid despite all of the changes and the carousel that seems to be going through there. But now the power play needs to meet them halfway and bring it all the way home. A good way to do that, like you said, switch up the lines, make sure those stars get going, and yeah, get more points up.
Because I know the big thing is I was watching a little bit of post game interviews with JT Miller and a bunch of players, and JT Miller said it the best. He said, "We had the momentum, we had the lead, we went on the power play, and we killed the momentum because we couldn't get anything going." We've seen one of the Canucks power plays where Nashville had a 2-on-1. They hit the post, so they didn't score off this. But the power play immediately after that, they didn't get a shot. They couldn't get set up. And he said himself, this is what killed the fans in the building. They didn't want to just get interested in this point because we couldn't show for them. So the power play is a huge thing. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think the line is going to be shaken up? Do you just ride out this for game 6 and maybe panic when it gets to game 7? But with that, we'll get into our third topic, which is Allvin's masterclass. And I did want to just kind of point this out and just kind of talk on it. With this, I wanted to just point out Elias Lindholm and Nikita Sidorov, two guys that Patrik Allvin picked up at trade deadline. These were two guys that a lot of fans weren't happy that these were the only trades they made. I know at trade deadline, a lot of fans were saying, hey, we wanted Tyler Toffoli, and I can't blame you because I was one of those fans as well. But Allvin went out, didn't trade the entire cupboard to pick up multiple players. He picked up two guys that have been crucial for this team, and especially crucial in the playoffs, was Zadorov scoring, Lindholm scoring the OT winner. Seeing these guys on the roster, what's your thoughts on their impact, and do you want to see both of them back next season?
I would love to see both of them back next season. I think they've made a pretty big impact right away. We've definitely seen production with them when it matters in the postseason when they're bigger, like the bigger names haven't been as productive aside from Quinn Hughes and JT Miller. But those guys have really done a great job stepping up and creating names for themselves amongst this Canucks roster that's already stacked. And proven Alvin was right and had the great foresight with these guys and proved the naysayers wrong.
Yeah, because the big thing is we've seen Zadorov get a penalty. No one was really happy about that, shaking your heads on Zadorov taking a stupid one. But he came out of the box, lit up Ryan McDonough, which almost gave them the momentum, got the crowd to their feet. The towels were waving. Everyone was excited. And the big thing with Lindholm, yes, he might not be scoring 5 or 6 goals in 5 or 6 games, but this guy has been a huge piece for the penalty kill. He's been outstanding, just killing penalties, winning draws, and being that centerman that they wanted and traded for. So, what's your guys' thoughts on two of these players? You want both of them back? I know it's a big hot topic at the moment. So, let us know down in the comments. But while you're down in the comments and talking about comments, we'll get into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day comes from Coyote Creek Band, and he says, both Lindholm and Sidorov have impressed me in the series. Two great Allvin trades. And I will say, yes, this is exactly why I put this second topic into it. This is why I talked about this topic. Sorry about the mess on the screen just then. But overall, Allvin did an excellent job. Yes, people were upset that they didn't make more trades. They weren't going out and picking up more pieces. But Allvin did great. And honestly, you can't blame him because the two players he picked up have been huge impacts. But that'd be it for this episode of Canucks Digest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to leave a like, subscribe, comment. You could be featured on the next episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Griffin. Take care.